Support WrestleTalk!
Give us a subscribe.
Thank you for your awesome support on Patreon. Oh, Cheetos, here we go again, Carl Johnson. Hello and welcome to the WrestleTalk Monday Mecha News. I am Luke Owen, and yes, I am back from my most excellent adventure out to Japan, where I saw a giant monster, a giant robot, some giant temples, and ate some giant bowls of ramen. Ramen. And while I was away, I appeared to have missed a lot of big wrestling news, like The Fiend winning the Universal Championship, which is cool, WWE Stars getting stuck in Saudi Arabia, which is scary, NXT invading the main roster, which is super cool, and Seth Rollins getting into a rather silly Twitter beef with Dave Meltzer, which is not cool. But I also missed AEW's first pay-per-view in the post-Dynamite world Full Gear, which took place this past Saturday. I've now caught up with the excellent show, and you can check out Pete Quinnell's in about 4 minutes review of Full Gear by clicking the eye above my head, and housemate Simon and I review the show in full on today's episode of WrestleTalk Live. It was a brutal affair in places, with Cody bleeding more than the final scene of the Evil Dead remake in his match with Chris Jericho, and Jon Moxley and Kenny Omega doing their best literal interpretation of Slayer's Raining Blood in the show's lights out main events. The match has seemed to split opinions though, with some fans really enjoying the bloody spectacle of it all, while others felt that Mox and Omega went too far. Even Kenny Omega superfan Dave Meltzer didn't like the match. A lot of people have compared it to the Undertaker-Mankind Hell in a Cell match from King of the Ring 1998, a match that is well remembered by fans but not always for the right reasons, with many crediting it as the moment that slowed Foley's in-ring style down, saying they remember seeing Mick Foley walk before that match and limp afterwards. And it seemed like the match did take a toll on one of the men, which is unsurprising given the fact they were trying to outdo Twitter's superhuman Whoop Whoop. Not only did Omega not win the match, he took to Twitter to announce that doctors have not cleared him to wrestle this coming week on Dynamite. I lost and doctors won't clear me for TV. The problem is that you left me alive and I'll be back. I win. It's a big blow for All Elite Wrestling, as Kenny Omega has been a big focal point of the Dynamite show since its debut in October. Omega hadn't been advertised for a match this coming week on Dynamite, with the company instead announcing Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara challenging SCU for the AEW Tag Team Championships. As of the time of this recording, there's no information on how long Omega will be out for, or if this is just a work. Someone who probably wasn't the biggest fan of Jon Moxley versus Kenny Omega recreating Glenn's death from the original Nightmare on Elm Street is Mox's real-life wife and WWE commentator Renee Young. It was quite the roller coaster of emotions for Young, who started off the match tweeting, "My husband is handsome, also a bad MFer, lightning bolt emoji," or maybe she thinks Moxley is as cool as Shazam. But then it started to go emotionally downhill, beginning with a simple WTF, followed by hi, yes, hello, I hate this, before ending with seriously, WTF. Thankfully, Young had a plan to make herself feel better after watching her husband open up like the elevator from The Shining, saying she was going to watch a Christmas movie as a palate cleanser. It's November, Renee, it's far too early for Christmas movies. Though if you are in the mood for a Christmas movie, might I suggest Muppets Christmas Carol, Home Alone, or Elf? Those are my picks for ho-ho-ho Christmas movies, but which Christmas movie would be your palate cleanser to Moxley vs. Omega? Vote in the poll above my head to let me know. Spent 20 quid on this morning for this one little silly joke. Guess I'm still on a holiday high. But Kenny Omega isn't the only top star in AEW to pick up an injury following Full Gear. It wasn't just Moxley and Omega who shed more blood than that toilet scene from It Chapter 2, as Cody also took a hell of a beating in his AEW World Championship match against Chris Jericho, which had the added stipulation that Cody would not be able to challenge for the title ever again if he lost. And lose he did when MJF threw in the towel for him before kicking him square in the dick. Although we did get to see the excellent finish and post-match angle, Mike Johnson of PW Insider has reported the match could have ended a lot sooner. Johnson writes, there was a possibility the Cody vs. Chris Jericho match could have been stopped after Cody's terrible bump during a dive out of the ring to the entranceway during the pay-per-view. The decision was left up to Dr. Michael Sampson, the same doctor who saved Jerry Lawler's life when he had a heart attack live on Raw, and Sampson, after examining Cody, made the call that he was good to continue. AEW themselves announced on Twitter that Cody got 8 stitches and a separation, and he is not cleared for action at this time, adding a nasty picture of the cut Cody got during the match. For those who don't know, like me, the is your ribs. Earlier in the night, Hangman Paige took on the Bastard Pack, and there were also some concerns coming out of that match that Paige had also picked up an injury. Paige himself said during the post-show media scrum that not only was he dealing with a ruptured eardrum courtesy of Sammy Guevara, he also thought he picked up a stinger during his Full Gear match and was having issues with his right arm. Here's what he had to say in this video from Fightful.
I'm not worried about my back as much as my neck. Like a little stinger. I kind of like, it's funny, my parents are watching, they were texting me asking about my thumb. They're like, is your thumb work or whatever? But like, you get a stinger sometimes, like your hands kind of like, I don't know, they kind of like numb up a little bit, and you kind of gotta like try to keep them, and they want to like do this. So that's kind of where I'm at. I think Kenny's probably with the doctor, so I might not bother now. So yeah, my neck is really sore.
You mentioned you had a stinger there. A stinger is a concussion, right? What do you use the concussion?
Oh no, just like I don't know, like when your neck is kind of, I don't know, jars a little bit or something.
Like a pinch, yeah.
You know, yeah, like a pin, like nothing, like my neck's not broken. One of those things that does kind of like, you kind of gotta like get your fingers feeling good.
Okay.
Thankfully, the stinger appears to be nothing too serious, however, as AEW announced that Hangman Page will take on the Bastard Pack in a rubber match this coming Wednesday night on Dynamite. And he's not the only one who'll be at that show, as AEW President Tony Khan has revealed that Joey Janela is fine after he took a spike piledriver to the floor from Shawn Spears and Tully Blanchard. After the match, Janela remained in the ring and was attended to by medics and agents, but Khan told the press at the post-show scrum that Janela was fine and would be at Dynamite this coming Wednesday. Khan said Joey's going to be absolutely okay. I wanted to get everyone to check on him immediately. Called for people right away when the referee called for help. Jungle Boy was back there, he and Joey are super tight, he wanted to check on Joey as a friend. He's totally okay, and I think he'll be at Dynamite in Nashville on Wednesday. And that wasn't the only bit of news that Khan dropped during the post-show scrum. Not only did he tell the press that the ratings on TNT were double expectations and that they have done really, really well, he also talked about the pay-per-view plans for next year. Khan noted that rather than do the WWE pay-per-view schedule of once a month, AEW will do quarterly shows, with a show coming early in 2020, Double or Nothing 2 following in May at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas, and All Out 2 in Chicago over Memorial Day weekend. PW Insider are reporting that details on the 2020 pay-per-views will be made very soon, and could possibly tie into Tony Khan telling the press following Full Gear that he would like to see AEW go to Canada and London next year. But as much as Khan would have liked to have only talked about upcoming shows and good news for AEW, there were reports of a backstage fight ahead of Full Gear that he had to address. It seemed like the fights got started a little early over Full Gear weekend, as Bodyslam.net reported a fight between AEW wrestler Jimmy Havoc and commentator Excalibur at Jimmy's Seafood Restaurant on Thursday night, which was supposed to be a celebration of Tony Schiavone's birthday. Bodyslam.net reported from the scene that Havoc was intoxicated and got into an altercation with Excalibur, which resulted in Jimmy throwing a punch at the commentator. When he missed, Excalibur reportedly put him to sleep via a chokehold. The fight was said to have happened right in front of AEW president Tony Khan. Bodyslam writes Atlas Security stepped in and got Excalibur to release the chokehold. However, the incident was not over, because when Havoc came to, he once again throws a punch at Excalibur, only this time he connected. This resulted in a skirmish, brawl, pull apart between the two, until Atlas Security could break it up and escort Jimmy Havoc outside. Once outside, a member of Atlas Security was attempting to calm an intoxicated Jimmy Havoc down, but this was interrupted when Excalibur came outside to try and talk things out. Jimmy was still upset and was not wanting to talk, and he was said to have thrown his cell phone in the direction of Excalibur, missing him, but not the wall, as his phone broke into pieces. Security again separated the two, sending Excalibur back inside while they waited for an Uber to pick up Havoc and take him back to the hotel. Bodyslam's Cassidy Haynes said he witnessed Havoc shouting outside the restaurant about the incident and was later told that Jimmy felt remorseful about the situation. PW Insider report that Jimmy Havoc Havoc was not backstage at Full Gear, but was never slated to be there. Havoc himself made a joke about the situation, posting on Twitter that he was thrown out of the restaurant because he was sat next to MJF and he was going to stab him. At Full Gear's post-show press scrum, Tony Khan played down the fight, saying, "I wouldn't call it a fight. I've seen a lot worse in the world of football, both in England and the NFL. I've seen a lot worse, and I saw a lot worse tonight at Full Gear. They scrapped around a bit, and it was cool yesterday." Although the story going around was that Excalibur 1 said scrap, Tony Khan joked that it would only go down as a draw at best on his AEW win-loss record. Body Slam's Cassidy Haynes backs this up, saying that he was told Havoc and Excalibur hashed out their differences and talked things over, and there is no heat between the two parties. But before we get out of here, it's time to announce which classic wrestling pay-per-view will be reviewed by Ollie Davis and myself on our Patreon exclusive series, WrestleTalk Extra, which in the past has seen us cover WrestleMania X7, both ECW One Night Stands and December to Dismember, TNA Bound for Glory 2010, New Japan's Wrestle Kingdom 10, and more. And the winner by Patreon votes was Survivor Series 1997, which just beat out Survivor Series 2014 by 2%. Ollie and I will be reviewing the show in depth for around 3 hours or so, diving into all of the backstage news about the Montreal Screwjob, and the podcast will hopefully go live next week. Pete Quinnell reviews AEW Full Gear in about 4 minutes, and you can watch that as well as highlights from this past week of WrestleTalk live episodes by clicking the videos that are on screen right now. And thank you to our pledge hammers on Patreon, some of which you can see scrolling their way into my stomach. I've been Luke Owen, and that were Mecha Wrestling.